Hello guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about Jesperi Kotkaniemi and if he can make the Montreal Canadiens opening roster. Now, I wouldn't normally make a video on smaller topics like this, but Jesperi Kotkaniemi has been one of the most interesting prospects in the last couple of months, and there's definitely a situation with him in preseason. Of course, he was drafted 3rd overall in the 2018 NHL draft by the Montreal Canadiens, and this training camp / preseason, he's one of the most interesting stories, especially for the Montreal Canadiens, where they've been surprising by how much youth they've had. Now, of course, he was drafted 3rd overall in 2018 NHL draft, so he's got some lofty expectations for the Montreal Canadiens to be that #1 center for the future, and I think that he will become that. But for right now, he's making a name for himself with the Montreal Canadiens in preseason, and he's played very, very well. He's starting to make a name for himself, and he's starting to really show why he was drafted 3rd overall with the Montreal Canadiens. In this preseason, he's played all 5 games with the Montreal Canadiens. He's gotten 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points. Not bad for the rookie. He's looked very, very good, and while the points aren't elite per se, he's definitely shown great overall awareness on the ice, great offensive ability, great skills, and great maturity, which you want to see from a pretty much almost 17-year-old. Now, he just turned 18 this July, and he's one of the youngest guys drafted from the 2018 NHL draft, but he already impressed in the Liga, and of course, right now, he's impressing in preseason. So for me right now, whether he plays with the Montreal Canadiens this season, he's already shown great things on the ice for the Montreal Canadiens in their preseason. Now, my opinion on Kotkaniemi is that he's always needed 1 more year at least in the Liga for him to really mature into that first-line center position. Right now, Montreal is looking to make him on the full-time roster. In my opinion, though, I think the best way to go for him to get that potential that he has is to play him in the Liga 1 more season to get that World Junior Championship experience with Finland, who will hopefully have a good team. Now, this is what really throws a big wrench into my old system here, is Claude Julien, of course, the Montreal Canadiens coach, went out and said that it's pretty hard to not see him on our roster. I don't know if he's talking about opening day or if he's talking about right now, but right now he's still on the preseason roster. Montreal has made some cuts. They've cut guys like Suzuki out. Kotkaniemi is still fighting for a spot here, and of course, the kid wants to be in the NHL, so he's working hard at that. But man, it's seeming like Montreal wants to play him in the first year, play him as a rookie at 18 years old. Montreal is looking to do that, and while Kotkaniemi has looked good in the preseason, I'll definitely give him that. I do have my worries about that. It feels like Montreal will play him in that roster, though, will play him in that opening night, but there are some options that I think I'd rather see Montreal take. Now, there's 3 options that I'm going to give the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, there are more options out there, but these are the main 3 that I think are plausible for them right now. Number 1, send him down to the Liga straight out after preseason so that he plays with the World Junior Championships team, so he plays with his team in the Liga for the whole season and definitely gets some seasoning down there and develops his skills. The number 2 option is to give him 9 games in the NHL, then send him back down to the Liga. So with the NHL, they have a certain rule with rookies that you can keep them on the NHL roster until they play a certain amount of games, and then you have to send them down, and they have to make a choice about it. So they either do option 3, which we'll get into, or they do option 2, where they send him down after a certain amount of NHL games, and then get him some seasoning after that. Option number 3 is to keep him on the Montreal Canadiens for the whole year, play him throughout the whole season, hopefully that he wouldn't get injured, and play him with the Montreal Canadiens for the whole year, fixing a little bit of those center depth issues. You guys already know my opinion. I want them to take the number 1 option in sending him down to the Liga straight off the bat, give him some seasoning down there, and get him that World Junior Championship experience, which is so precious for a lot of NHL players. I think that's the best route for him to go to. He's gotten his NHL preseason experience all over the bat already. He's already done that. I think the best option would to just send him down straight off the bat so that he can complete his whole season down there. I think the 9-game tryout will be very, very interesting for guys like Kotkaniemi. We saw that with guys like Kailer Yamamoto with Edmonton Oilers last season, where he only played a certain amount of games in the regular season to start out the season. For guys like Kotkaniemi with the Montreal Canadiens, I think that would be very unique for what they're trying to blend. I really don't see a ton of point in that, having him not in 9 games. games. Sure, it is going to give him that experience, but I would like to see him have a whole season in the Liga to really season out. That NHL experience would be very valuable with those 9 games, and I think it would help him in his overall ability. And of course, learning from those Montreal Canadiens coaches will do him wonders when he transitions down to the Liga, where he hopefully dominates. Montreal Canadiens are most likely not going to be a very, very good team, so for me, there's no reason to keep him on for that standpoint. He's not really going to bolster your team for a playoff run, not like an Eli Tolman in Nashville. There is no playoff run for the Montreal Canadiens. Right now, it would just be to inject youth into this lineup, to make some reason for people to go to Montreal games would be a guy like Kotkaniemi being in the lineup. So in that kind of standpoint, I do get it, to inject some of that young players into the lineup, but for me, Kotkaniemi, if he were to play a full year in the NHL, I just don't see it being good for him. We've seen examples of other players being drafted pretty high up, being rushed, and not really getting their whole potential they had when they were drafted. Well, I don't think that's going to be a huge problem for Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I feel like he has very solid talent. He has very solid potential. I just don't want to see that ruined for the Montreal Canadiens. They already jumped up to get a guy like Kotkaniemi at number 3. They already took risks there. I don't want to see them play him year 1 in the NHL and then have his potential go down just because they wanted to inject some youth in this random year that they weren't going to compete in anyways. To me, while I don't see that ruining Kotkaniemi's potential, I don't see that helping him at all. I don't see that full 82-game season doing much for him at all. I see that 9-game stint, if he were to do that, option number 2, I would see that helping him in the long run as well, but I feel like, again, setting him down in the Liga to start off the season and to focus on the Liga and the World Junior Championships, I feel like that would be the best for his career and for his potential with the Montreal Canadiens. And while he's probably a serviceable NHL player right now, I feel like playing him right now when he just turned 18 will be disastrous for his future, will be disastrous for what he can accomplish. While I'm not a Habs fan at all, I am hoping that Jesperi Kotkaniemi can become something for them, because he did take big risks with him, and with him, I feel like they have great potential. It just all comes down to how Montreal handles him, because obviously they haven't done great with a lot of their prospects beforehand. They've mishandled a lot of players before, a lot of prospects before, like Alex Galchenyuk, Nikita Sherbak. They were just back this last season. They were mishandling Max Pacioretty. This team likes to mishandle players. Let's just admit that. And right now, I'm scared for Kotkaniemi to be put in that system, to not really be utilized like he should be. And while I don't think you can really screw up a guy like him, I think there's always a possibility of that happening. So I want him to stay away for 1 more year and then come back strong. Let's face it though, he's looked great in the preseason so far, the Montreal Canadiens, and while the preseason doesn't count, I think it does matter. There are a lot of key intangibles. Again, NHL players are playing in these games. It's not like it's full rookie games, not like it's full prospect games. There are NHL players here, and Kotkaniemi has looked very, very solid. So while it's not the whole NHL regular season, it is a sample of it. I feel like Kotkaniemi has played well enough to deserve a roster spot, and I feel like 9 games would be pretty perfect if they're going to go for that. But again, in my opinion, I want to see him sent down to the Liga. I want to see him dominate that league offensively and defensively. I want to see him represent Finland for the World Junior Championships and hopefully them getting a medal this season. I want to see him dominate in the minors 1 more year before he comes back to the NHL and plays pretty well. I think that having that route would be special. Maybe if he plays 9 games, it still happens, but I feel like having that whole season where he can focus on the minors will be the best thing for him. But again, it's not about my opinion, it's about the management in Montreal's opinion. It really comes down to them, what Marc Bergevin wants to do, what Claude Julien wants to do. It is up to them, and right now, it's looking like they're highly favoring Kotkaniemi to play on this team for the 2018-2019 season, and right now, I feel like that would work out in the short term, but just not in the long term. But again, it's all up to the Montreal Canadiens management, what they want to do, and let's be honest, it's looking like they want to play Kotkaniemi for that opening night, have him for at least 9 games. I feel like they're going to have at least 9 games, and if they want to keep him on the regular season, for that regular season squad, they'll do that. I feel like it's up to the management right now, but for right now, I feel like the likeliest thing is for Montreal to stay, or for Kotkaniemi to stay with Montreal, because I think that management is leaning towards that. Right now, I think he's played pretty well in the preseason. season, rewarding and pretty much deserving of a roster spot for the opening day. And if Montreal wants to do that, I think they will do that. It really does depend on their mindset, but for right now, Claude Julien has said he wants him. Mark Bergevin obviously drafted him, so I feel like that is obviously going to push him towards the opening night roster. I think that's what they're headed towards, and I think that's what's going to happen. So for the official prediction of Kotkaniemi being on the opening night roster, I think he will, whether I like it or not. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Jesperi Kotkaniemi, the 3rd overall pick in the 2018 NHL Draft, and the Montreal Canadiens? Do you think he'll start with the Montreal Canadiens, or do you think he'll be sent down and be playing in the minors? But that's what everybody, guys. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe again. Tell me down below, what do you think of Jesperi Kotkaniemi and him possibly making the opening night roster for the Montreal Canadiens? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.